Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us. For the next 2 hours, we're looking at conversations about some of the biggest stories happening around the country and outside the country, especially when it concerns Nigerians in the diaspora. We'll probably be kickstarting the conversation with that this morning. I am Olive Emodi. You're welcome.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawa. As always, good morning. And remember to please be a part of the conversations this morning via our social media platforms at News Central TV, just like it's showing on your screen this morning. Also, call the phone lines in the second half of Breakfast Central sometime around 8 a.m. while we review the papers and share your thoughts with us on any of the major stories making headlines. There's so much going on in Nigeria today. Nigerians, of course, are still in petrol queues, hoping to buy petrol for less than 800 naira, 900 naira for a liter. Here in Lagos, you might still find it around 600, but in many other parts of the country, it's, averaging around 800, 900, maybe more than 1,000 naira per liter. And many people are asking, is that the new norm? But while that is going on, there's, of course, still, just like I said a while ago, I think I posted this on X, that the problem with, weaponizing tribalism and bigotry and all of that when it's time for elections is that you can't turn it off after you win the elections. It's one of the major problems. And I'm not saying that it necessarily started with the 2023 elections. It has somehow always existed, but it seems like it was given a boost. The tribalism and the bigotry in the conversations were given such a boost during the 2023 elections, and we've seen the damage that is causing across the Nigerian conversations. If you go online, it takes a lot of patience to learn to just keep scrolling when you see certain people and certain types of comments. But there's just so much tribalism going on.
Absolutely.
And again, the problem with it, when you weaponize it to win elections, the problem is that you cannot turn it off after winning the elections. It stays and the damage continues. And we've heard about a story of a lady who is in Canada. Now, I saw the story yesterday. Abike Dabiri commented on it and of course shared the person's details on it yesterday.
And you know what, I mean, you've talked about it being weaponized, which is true. And what's sad is because when the problems with bigotry started, or the conversations about bigotry were seen at the last elections, we saw no punishments or consequences. If there were punishments, strong punishments, where our government took an actual stand to say, we do not stand in support of bigotry, not just with words, because it's very easy for the government to have press releases and distance themselves from a number of opinions like they did with Lagospedia, but making actual arrests. Now, in all fairness, there was an arrest that was made. There was a young man last year who was arrested. His name is, I'm trying to remember. Yes, his name is Kehinde Adekusibe, I hope I pronounced that correctly. The Osun State Police Command arrested him last year because he put out a tweet talking about inciting people against the Igbo people. There's also some reports, which I don't know if it's confirmed, and I'm hoping that we can hear reports about that. There's reports that even though he was arrested and said to be brought before a court, they said they were going to arrest and prosecute him after investigation. There are reports, I did see one yesterday that said they had gone behind the doors, gone through the back doors and released him. And I'm hoping that it's not true. So we're looking forward to hearing a report regarding this young man by the name Kehinde Adekusibe, who did put out a tweet last year saying that Igbos should be harmed. He was arrested and investigated, and the police promised to prosecute right after the investigation. But I say all of that as a background to this conversation about the alleged Igbo woman who went on a TikTok space and was talking about harming Yoruba people and Edo people. I condemn totally, wholeheartedly, and in totality what she said. We do not in any way support that. When the NIN-SIM boss Abike Dabiri spoke up against it, Nigerians started to criticize her. And part of the criticism leveled against her was that when Lagospedia said their own, you didn't fish out Lagospedia. Now, very quickly, you brought out Amaka's picture. When MC Oluomo said his own, you people downplayed it. When a certain Oba who is still, in seats said his own, you downplayed it. Nothing was done about it. So when it happened to all these people, it wasn't bigotry. Now it has happened here, it's bigotry. I'm not holding brief for Abike Dabiri, but I can see why she will speak in Amaka's case, because it's her area, Nigerians in the diaspora. Absolutely. The people that we need to hold are the police, the police headquarters, the police chiefs, law enforcement agencies here in Nigeria. So Prince Muyiwa Adejobi has a number of questions to answer. Lagospedia, how have they not yet found him out? His identity has already been disclosed by people who have done a number of digging, and they said, oh, they will get to it. It's not enough to say we distance ourselves from this. You have to show strong actions where there are no punitive measures against certain actions. Repeat is bound to occur.
I agree, and you honestly cannot even blame those who responded to Abike Dabiri like that.
I can see where it's coming from.
Exactly. She, of course, like you said, is responsible for Nigerians in diaspora, so that's very likely why she, picked that one out. But it's not the only situation that we've seen with this outright bigotry that is being spewed and violence, against people from a different tribe or different religion across Nigerian social media places. And I totally agree with you that if you do not take punitive measures against these persons, regardless of what side or what tribe or religion that they are, then you are simply allowing it to fester. The Lagos State government itself needs to do a proper communication with the people of Lagos State. Every now and then you might see, one random person, that is, somewhere on the bottom line of the Lagos State government, come and say, oh, we denounce it. That's not enough. What we are seeing here is it's a completely chaotic situation that might get worse with regards to all the tribalism,
and they must indications of getting worse. Really.
Yes, and they must start to take deliberate action and completely denounce it, not just with words, but like you've said, those who should be arrested. You must see that the Lagos State government does not and will not tolerate any form of bigotry, not just Lagos State government, the Nigerian government itself will not tolerate any form of bigotry or tribalism. That should be the stance that should be taken, and it shouldn't be seen to be one-sided either.
I was going to say that, but I was going to use the word selective. It shouldn't be selective criticism or selective arrest or selective investigation that should be done. Regardless of one side, if you see bigotry leveled against the Igbos or against the Yorubas, anyone who is involved should be arrested, investigated, and punished. Also, it should not be limited to those at the lower cadre of society, regardless of what class you are. If you are a king or a chief or a political office holder, and you in some way make these statements that are insightful, you should also be brought to answer questions.
Now, another point to make. Every now and then, I always like to remind Nigerians that every now and then when we criticize government is made up of, people, like us, right? But every now and then when we criticize, the government, I always like Nigerians to look within. This individual, this character, this very despicable human being who is in Canada, that is currently the person in focus, should be ashamed of herself I don't know in what level of shame that she needs to carry on her, with herself for now till the next 10 years. She should be ashamed of herself because she's an adult. She's an adult that is seemingly educated, that was able to make her way away from Nigeria to Canada. So, you can assume that she has traveled. She's exposed to some extent. But with that level of exposure that you would assume that this person has, you can still see the level of bigotry that the person is spewing, even in a different country entirely, targeting Yorubas and the Edo people and saying that they should be, I wouldn't like to repeat the things that you said.
I don't think we should.
But a completely despicable human being that I don't know what the laws are, but should be punished.
Oh no, she should be, because those
statements
are statements, they're threats, they're insightful, and she should be punished. And I just want to quickly add as we wrap up that all those who are involved in criticizing South Africa, when South Africa in certain cases turns their back against Nigerians or criticizing Ghanaians, particularly South Africa, because there's been this rift between Nigerians and South Africans in the most recent time, which is very, very embarrassing, to put it mildly. All those people who have been a part of it,
they're not different.
They are not different. You cannot say, oh, apartheid, or you're shouting racism, whereas here in your own country, you're treating people differently because they're from another tribe. So you're as guilty as those people.
Everybody who was on that group chat, that TikTok conversation, they should all be ashamed of themselves, not just her. Because the reason that you are bold enough to spew those type of things is because you feel comfortable that nobody would challenge you and nobody would tell you to shut your mouth. The reason that you feel comfortable is because, you are amongst your fellow bigots. That's why. So they should all be ashamed of themselves, wherever they are, both those in Canada, those in India, those here in Nigeria.
And those fighting South Africans and saying that South Africans are racist, and those in the West calling the West racist. You all should be ashamed of yourselves if you are also part of the people that are fighting your kinsmen, right? We're preaching unity. Unity is what we're after, is what we're talking about. And we should do better looking after each other, looking after ourselves here in Nigeria. Again, to go back to the conversation about people who have been champions of this before today, there needs to be investigation. Who is Lagospedia? Where is Lagospedia? And why has the person not been arrested? These are some of the questions that Nigerians are asking. Much later today, I'll be taking some of your tweets regarding this story on what Nigerians are saying.
Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. Let's begin by telling you that a surge in abductions has prompted mass exodus from rural communities in Kaduna State to urban areas. Reports indicate that residents, particularly those living in personal houses on the outskirts, are abandoning their properties due to rising kidnapping incidents. The exodus is driven by fears of escalating attacks by armed bandits. Sad story there, but moving on, the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) has set September 14, 2024 as the final deadline for the linkage of National Identification Numbers (NIN) with Subscriber Identification Modules (SIMs). The NCC spokesman Ruben Moka revealed that over 153 million SIMs have already been successfully linked to their NINs, reflecting a compliance rate of 96%, a significant rise from 69.7% recorded in January 2024. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has instructed its members across the country to hold a peaceful prayer procession on August 29th. NLC General Secretary Emmanuel Ugwaja announced the directive in a letter addressed to all affiliates and state councils on Wednesday in Abuja. The letter was issued in response to a police summons for NLC President Joe Ajaero, who is being investigated for alleged charges including criminal conspiracy, terrorism financing, treasonable felony, subversion, and cybercrime. And also, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has urged the Nigerian government to maintain its current economic reforms to ensure sustained growth and reduce poverty. IMF resident representative for Nigeria, Dr. Christian Ibeke, made the call during the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry's International Business Conference and Expo 2024, titled Invest Nigeria. He stressed the need to address governance issues and improve business regulations to boost the economy by 5 to 8 percentage points annually. The federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, concluded their meeting on Wednesday with plans to reconvene on September 6th. The Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, announced after the closed-door discussions, which lasted over 2 hours in Abuja, that the government is collaborating with ASU to address the ongoing issues. Away from Nigeria, a bus traveling from Zimbabwe to Johannesburg lost control and overturned in South Africa's northeastern Limpopo province, killing 10 people and injuring 35 others. The local transport ministry confirmed in a statement on Wednesday that victims include 5 men and 5 women, all reportedly foreign nationals. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's move now back to Breakfast Central and get into our top stories. I am Osaogi Ogbawa.
The FCT Police Command has paraded several suspects arrested for various crimes, including 94 others allegedly involved in the killing of 2 police officers, following a clash between members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria and police operatives. The FCT Police Commissioner says that they will all be charged to court at the conclusion of investigations. Our correspondent Idong Joseph reports.
The parade of suspects had commenced with the parade of a seaman of the Nigerian Navy attached to a retired naval officer, suspected to be involved in the murder of one Aminu Ibrahim at the Maitama area of Abuja. The police alleged that the suspect also specialized in snatching and selling luxury vehicles.
About 2 weeks ago, Aminu Ibrahim, the son of Vice Admiral I. Ibrahim, a former chief of naval staff, was robbed and killed in Maitama.
The suspect was given an opportunity to narrate his alleged role in the crime.
He want to go outside and he say I should follow him for security reasons. 11:30. So when I follow him, he stops trying to check something like ATM in his car, and I come out to the other door, I shoot him.
Then followed the parade of over 90 suspects arrested at different locations around the federal capital, suspected to have been involved in the killing of 2 police officers during a recent clash between the Nigerian police and members of the proscribed Islamic movement of Nigeria. Displaying the various items recovered from the suspects, the FCT Commissioner of Police says that the weapons recovered were used in the crime.
If you check here, you can see what we recovered from them. Some of the cutlasses you see here are blood-stained, which they use in killing the policemen.
Also, a syndicate comprising 2 suspects alleged to be specializing in the snatching of automated teller machine cards from unsuspecting victims was paraded.
If you see, they see you that you are elderly or you are naive of the workings of the ATM, as you are about to do, one of them will tap you behind. As you turn back, the other one will collect the ATM from you and give you another ATM of the same bank.
The suspects narrate their role in the alleged crime.
Once the person slots the card, we'll ask the person to put his PIN or her PIN. When we see it on the screen, we'll cram it on our head. Then we'll press proceed. It will either show you unable to complete or transaction cancelled. We will now tell the person that the card has been swallowed. They should rush to the security.
The police says that all suspects will remain in custody, while an investigation bordering on their complicity is ongoing. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
That was an interesting package there. I mean, subject to argument, there are those who would say that, wonder if it is legal for the police to keep parading people. It is not the police that determines the crime or the criminality or the innocence of a case. It is the court. But that's a conversation for another day. Let's now talk about what's happening in the Labour Party. Defiant to Julius Abure's warning, Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi and Abia State Governor Alex Otti have called an emergency meeting on the 4th of September to address the party's leadership crisis. The crisis began after the party's March 29th National Convention, which was boycotted by major stakeholders. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has not recognized the convention, and the party's leadership has been contested.
Now, according to the national chairman of Labour Party, Julius Abure, Abia State Governor Alex Otti stated his intention to convene a national executive meeting on the 31st of August to dissolve the National Executive Council, State Executive Council, Local Government Executive Council, and Ward Executive Council on the purported ground that their tenure has expired. Now, Abure has kicked against this and asked Alex Otti to mind governance and leave party matters. Joining us to discuss this is the spokesperson, Labour Party, Lagos State, Ife Salako. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
Good to have you.
Good morning, Ife.
It's always good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, the fire on the mountain, you know, that's what it looks like in your party. So just give us, you know, an understanding of what exactly is going on here. Is there a clash between Governor Alex Otti and Julius Abure?
Well, clash, no, it's all politics. It's a fact that someone is looking for a way to make the party, move forward, and this will be in person of the governor, Alex Otti. For some of us in the party, we believe that it is actually a right move in the right direction to bring everybody together, every aggrieved member of the party together, and say, let's dialogue, let's talk about how we can unanimously move this party, forward and to the right direction. And apparently, the Abure, led, executive committee is not really in sync with this. I know there are conversations going on right now to, persuade everybody to come together and have this conversation, because it will not only be in favor of the party, but also most of the people who are sympathetic towards the party. They are looking for a way to resolve this internal issue. And I think this is a good platform, for us to, find a way forward. For quite a number of people that I know personally who are somewhat, not really comfortable with what's been happening in the party, they were kind of excited at the call by Governor Alex Otti to bring everybody together. If you look at the list of what, the communique that was sent out, you will see that almost every other person that is concerned, that are stakeholders in the party, have been invited to come for this conference. And I think, it will do us a lot of good.
What are the internal issues you speak of?
Well, I mean, these are things that have been there all the while. You just mentioned, one of them. There are people in the party who thought that it would be nice for them to be part of the national structure of the party. And these people, considering the fact that everybody just, galvanized towards the Labour Party because of, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, getting the presidential candidacy of the party, in 2023. And because we all came together and they said, all right, the election and it's gone. And now everybody, suddenly became a stakeholder in the party, not understanding that this party, whether I like it or not, is in existence before the arrival of Mr. Peter Obi to the Labour Party. So quite a number of, players felt, because of what I did during the presidential election, I have the right to, hold on to a particular position in the party. But the structure of the party is still the structure of the party. The people that are there before, you can't just come and then push them aside. Right. So there are personal interests here and there, but, it is something that we're looking forward to, to get resolved.
Abure has kicked against this, saying that it's not the position of the governor to make such a decision. And, I want you to, I don't know what the structure of the Labour Party is like. Do governors typically have the ability to make such decisions? Also, they had said that the National Working Committee is setting up a disciplinary team to sanction erring members who undermine the party. So, how does this how can this be interpreted as undermining the party?
Well, that someone is incapacity to do this or not would be justified by the constitution of the party. The Article 13 of the party, of the constitution of the Labour Party, listed the people that are stakeholders in the national executive structure of the party. And in this list is the leadership of the party, the NUC representative, the NLC representative, and the elected governors, elected senators, elected House of Rep members. So, if in the Constitution, the elected governor, and which is why I would say, on the other side, that for a lot of people who have been expecting, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi to just randomly call everybody to order and say it is unconstitutional, and Mr. Peter Obi that I know will not do anything that is unconstitutional. So, and if we come to what Governor Alex Otti has done in relation to the Section 13 of the Constitution, the Article 13 of the Labour Party Constitution, I think, he's actually in the right position to call for this meeting, to call for this resolution, to bring everybody together and forge a new, path for the party.
Well, you just talked about the constitutionality or otherwise of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party to call for this meeting. There's a report on the Nation newspaper. It says Peter Obi Otti to convene Labour Party stakeholders meeting.
So this is it. This is called by Alex Otti, the governor of Labour Party, who has a constitutional right to call for this meeting.
No, but here,
hold on.
Okay, all right.
Hold on. In that communique, there was Peter Obi's endorsement of that. So that Peter Obi endorses it does not mean that he's the one calling it. Everybody knows that it is being called by Alex Otti. So, I mean, of course, sensationalism. They want to put up a whole lot of things. But Peter Obi is not the one calling for this meeting. It is Alex Otti. And Alex Otti, according to Article 13 of the Constitution of the Labour Party, has every right to call for this meeting.
Yeah. What would you say is the confidence level currently on Julius Abure?
Well, that's relative. Is it internally or you know?
I mean, amongst
Internally,
Labour Party
yes.
members internally, yes, internally.
Well, I mean, I think it's actually, to be very candid, I think it's actually divided. I don't know to what percentage. I know there are some people that are really, really, you know, that are part of the party. And of course, I mean, they are not really in good terms with him. And there are people that would, of course, you know, still with him and still very, very. So I can't say categorically that there is a particular percentage, but we know that there are aggrieved members in the party.
I mean, what would you rate it, 1 to 10?
As Ife Salako.
Yes.
Rate what in particular?
The confidence. If you're going to put a vote of confidence on Julius Abure.
I mean, based on what he's done so far, I would want to skip that question.
I mean, because it's important. You know, one of the things that maybe many people would say is that a lot of people have lost faith in Labour Party as political organization, as a political party. You've lost members. Some of your members have also moved to other political parties. They're deported to other political parties. Many Nigerians don't necessarily see that the party, carries the same values that, they believed in when Peter Obi joined in 2023. And of course, before 2023 elections. And, it is also one of the things, that is pointed out is because of Julius Abure's leadership. So would it be surprising for you, if the Labour Party runs an election today and nobody cares?
Well, I mean, you see, election and party, they're actually two different things, in reality, right? The whole drama, this whole drama now, it's happening because there is no major election going on. That's why there is a whole lot of...
There's one coming up in Edo State.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, yes, there is the governorship election coming up in Edo State, right? But then, it's not like a national election coming up. And that's why everybody have time for all these party, shenanigans. But in reality, people would always have confidence in whatever they believe in, and they will always lose hope in whatever they believe in. A lot of people who would come around, like you rightly said, and say, oh, yeah, they don't believe in what the Labour Party stands for, when Peter Obi joined the party. Really ask them, what do they know that the Labour Party stands for before Peter Obi? Many people, galvanized towards the party after, Peter Obi joined the party. People leaving the party to other parties is not new. It's something that happens all over the world. People leave even other parties more and then come to the Labour Party. If you're not happy with the Labour Party, you leave. One of the things I said about Balami, for example, who left, was that I asked a critical question, and I said, if Peter Obi had won the election and I probably appointed Balami as, say, for example, Minister for the Youth, would he say because of the party, internal party issues, and say, oh, I'm leaving the Labour Party? He wouldn't. So there would be different reasons, and a lot of them personal, interest, that would make people galvanize towards a particular party or the other. But if you believe in the structure of the party, if you believe in who is leading the party, because whether you like it or not, yes, Barrister Abure is presently the national chairman of the party. But of course, we all know that if you look at it critically, Peter Obi is a major stakeholder in the party. And if Peter Obi still says that he is in the Labour Party, and you still believe in him, and you want to junk it, to other parties, all well and good. But we know what we stand for. We know what Peter Obi stands for. And that's what is keeping most of us in the Labour Party.
And do you think that the Labour Party is a formidable opposition against the government?
Absolutely. I wouldn't doubt that. Presently in Nigeria, the only opposition party is the Labour Party.
We had a guest a few days ago, Dr. Pierce, and we asked him, he's a PDP chieftain, and we asked him about the Labour Party being a formidable opposition. His response, and I'm not quoting him, but was that Labour Party did start off well. You did well at the last elections, but especially because of in recent times, the structure that you've had or the structure that you have, maybe it's not something, you can't compare it to the PDP, for example. He thinks the PDP is a more formidable opposition.
Yeah, the PDP has been there for like ever, since 1999, and they've been quite, they've been playing their own role in every election cycle. But the point is that, this same structure that they were talking about, when the Labour Party started with Mr. Peter Obi, in 2022, and, what we were hearing at the time was that it was just 4 people in a room tweeting. But guess what? Those 4 people in the room tweeting got us 6 million votes. Right now, we have 6 million soldiers waiting to fight for the party and to fight for, Mr. Peter Obi in the next election. So they will say a whole lot of things about the party, the party structure and all of that. We can continue to talk about structure of political party from now till ever in Nigeria. But the reality is that when it is time for election, people would vote for the person that is and to answer also what you said.
If Peter Obi still stays there.
Yes, hopefully so. And, yes, and I must also mention that you did say that does the party stand a chance to win election, based on the internal problem and the structure. In recent election in Bauchi, we saw what played out. Some places, the Labour Party, even without having a candidate, won the elections at that place without candidates. So party that does not have candidates, that is winning election, let's bring out the candidates. Let's get to the polls.
All right, let's bring in another guest who will join us to be a part of the conversation. We're joined by the Factional National Publicity Secretary, Alhaji Bashiru Lamidi. He's a factional leader for the Apapa-led National Working Committee for the Labour Party, Dr. Abayomi Arabambi. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me. All
right, we'd like your reactions. I'm sure that you've been a part of the conversation. Your reaction to the drama currently between Governor Oti and Julius Abure.
Well, thank you very much. For us, we do not have a faction in Labour Party. Abure, myself, and Papa were one indivisible political family. And we have decided, to form against these political predators who think we are just a bunch of non-entities, that they can come from PDP, and overpower us, consume us, like somebody wants to consume a akara with the okay. So we are going to take that record straight for them, that it is practically impossible for some people to gather to cover, what they did in 2023. If time will permit me, let me open up to Nigeria that what Governor Oti is trying to do is absolutely illegal. Our party constitution does not give him and Peter Obi the audacity to convene stakeholder or even neck meeting. Because this is how, some people will kickstart a crisis that will now consume the party into the general election. It happens in Rivers between Senator Magnus Abe and Rotimi Anishi. It happened between Senator Talatu Mafara and the governor Yari then, little crisis like this, that they lost all the elective position. Now, it was true, he met with INEC because some of his aides were posting on our WhatsApp group. They said it was INEC chairman that told them to convene a stakeholder meeting, appoint a caretaker committee that will run the affairs of the party. You see, we were just laughing because INEC chairman is not the court in Nigeria, and we have our constitution. The only people that is part of our neck meeting are the governor elected on behalf of on the platform of the party, the deputy, the president, and vice president. All right. No member of the National Assembly is the member of our neck in our constitution. And it was the same NSP that did that constitution then. And I will tell you why they did it. They didn't want people that come and hijack that party. When they formed that party, they didn't want anybody to come and hijack it. They were afraid of the politician. So they only put the governor, the deputy, the president, and the vice president. They excluded the National Assembly member. And that was how it was in the beginning and up till now. Number two, the Supreme Court has made it very clear. Parties must obey their constitution. In our constitution, only the national chairman that must preside over NEC, convention, NWC, and any other meeting of the party. That's number two. Number three, is only the national chairman and secretary that can summon a NEC meeting, National Working Committee, and the National Convention. So if they don't know, you see, none of them are coming from PDP, and Peter Obi, they don't even understand what our constitution look like. And we can only amend our constitution to a valid national convention.
Just to double check, please, which national chairman are you referring to here?
Julius Sabure still remains the national chairman of the party. For those who care to listen and for those who care not to listen. Or if they want to go through that route, I am assuring Nigeria will not have candidates in the 2027 election. No Jupiter will present candidate in Labour Party. If they want to go to that route with INEC, we will be waiting for them.
All right.
After their stakeholder, INEC can decide to change the name of any other person there. We promise them we will teach them a lesson of their life. We will not have candidates. Let all of them go and contest. It will be voted, and only the second person that came second to Labour Party in any election will be sworn in. They can go ahead and do that. They can go ahead.
Can you hold on? Professor Lako, you initially had given us insight into the Labour Party's constitution. Of course, you said that it was within the rights of sitting governors, including of course Governor Alex Otti, to convene these conventions. So can you clarify, because Mr. Arabambi is saying that is absolutely not true. Governor Alex Otti cannot convene a national convention. So as stated, it is here in the Article 13 that I did mention earlier. It says these are the principal organs of the party, which are which is the National Convention, the National Executive Council, the National Working Committee, the State Congress, and so on and so forth. And of course, in all of this, it says that the composition of this same National Convention, which is the number one organ of the party, is the national chairman, the president and the vice president, that won on the platform of the party, and governors, and the deputy.
Are you reading it from the Constitution?
Yes.
Do you have the Constitution opened or a screenshot of that section?
Oh, it's here. It's here.
Just to double check. 14. Can you read Article 14? Because can you read it verbatim? Okay, so it says Article 14, composition, functions, and powers of the party organs. Right, and it says the National Convention of the party shall hold once in 4 years, and then a composition of it is the national chairman and all members of the National Executive Council, including the NLC and TUC presidents and general secretaries, the president and the vice president of the Nigeria produced by the party, governors and deputy governors produced by the party. We will stop there. There are others, because that is the same Article 14 that he's quoting that says, he's saying that it gives only the national chairman and the national secretary of a party who can convene the meetings of the National Working Committee.
He needs to point to where it is written here. That it is only, there is nothing, it's not written here. It's not, see, when we want to, and then I'm not here to even counter anything, because there are facts and these are things that we need to see and base our, arguments on. If you look at this thing, I think it is in the right of the governor, who is clearly stated here. This is somebody that is already elected, and is written in the Constitution.
All right.
As the third
Mr. Arabambi, quickly respond. If you have a different view of the Constitution,
or if he has a part of the Constitution that it was written that it is only the national chairman that has the right to call for this convention.
Yes. Now, when you go to Article 40, powers and functions of national officer, the national chairman, it should go further, the function of national officer. National chairman shall give leadership to the party and preside over all meetings for the National Convention shall connote a must in the ruling of the Supreme Court. Pretorium of authority, when they say shall, it is not something that is negotiable. Shall preside over meetings of the National Convention, National Executive Council, and National Working Committee of the party. Shall direct the due execution of the program of the party. Shall direct due execution of the program of the party and shall have power to delegate his duty, and the rest like that. You see, what you need to know is this. No governor has the power, even in APC, when you look at their own legal conundrum they entered before 2023, Madunu was virtually removed by some member of the party, even in his acting capacity. Do not forget, some people ran to court. They said, we don't want caretaker. And they now change it to, their own something, presidential something called, a convention committee. And they brought that man back. Remember, Festus Keyamu and some lawyers argue, even with the former Attorney General, that whatever those people did that time is illegal and they are not going to have to candidate. The current president advised them that they should bring the man back. They now settled and they now proposed, move to convention where Adamu and Omishore, they were elected. You see, when parties know what they are doing, but what Adesote is trying to do is because he was the governor, some people are now misadvising him. But I am telling him, let him listen to me. If they dare with INEC, change Abure name from that portal, we will not run for any election in Nigeria. They can dare us, whether they have billions. We will teach them a lesson that there is constitution in Nigeria.
Mr. Arabambi,
it is Mrs. Odili that gave that ruling in Port Harcourt that parties, you must obey your constitution first before you can go ahead. This constitution
Mr. Arabambi,
can only be amended at our national convention.
Yeah, can you hold on? Yeah, so just to clarify, do you feel that the reason behind this convention is an attempt to remove Julius Abure as chairman of the party?
There are two reasons why they are planning their convention. You see, there are certain anomalies that took place in our general election. Some people came into that party in the name of support group Afenifere and Co. that mismanages our money for the campaign. So they were trying to cover the people. You see, there are issues. If you notice today, Obi are not presented account of the Labour Party President Campaign Council. That money doesn't belong to him. It belongs to the party. Two, we have been asking questions. Why our agents not paid? What Abure did that time was to upload, in line with the electoral act, the names of all party agents. But you know what they did? We were supposed to pay agents that time 10,000 naira. So support group came, Afenifere came, they usurped the power of the party. They just put people that didn't have their data on the INEC portal there. And that was why we failed abysmally. But in order to protect themselves, they felt some of us asked the question, let us remove Abure. Number two, with due respect to Nigerians, no section of this country can hijack Labour Party for themselves. I put it to you. One Emma Oti is the person they are preparing as National Caretaker Committee of Labour Party. Who is going to do that? Who is going to take that from them? What do they think we are? This party was not sponsored financially by Adesote and Peter Obi. They only sponsor themselves. If they gave this party one bicycle, one secretariat, one keke, or even poster, they should come and give Nigerians that account. They came massively to use our party to only promote themselves, and because they knew we are trying to reshuffle the party.
All right, Dr. Arabambi, please hold.
Come, let us do takeover where we are going to remove Abure and put our own person there.
Dr. Arabambi, please hold. Let's have Ife Salako react to what you've just said.
Well, it's actually funny to listen to some of the things that are absolutely off point for me. To start with, if there was plan to remove Abure, which I mean, I don't have that information. If there was plan to remove Abure, he wouldn't have been invited for the meeting. They would have, when the convention at, the other one that they had, and, the people that were not needed at the convention, they were not called. So if there was plan to do that, why would his name and his team be on the list that were called for the meeting? That's unfounded allegation. And also coming to the point that it is Abure that what he read in the constitution, that it must be a meeting that would be shared by Abure. Abure is called for this meeting. The Abure-led team is part of this meeting. They are called. So if it's about the constitution that says that he should oversee the meeting, yes, he should be there. Abure will not get to the party and then they would ask him to go and sit down at the back. He would be right in the front in his rightful position with his people.
Mr. Arabambi, is it okay to have the convention with Julius Abure still chairman or leading the meeting?
Let me tell you, if and Co, they know some of us, that are older in the Labour Party and that are also in the know about how constitution and judgment of Nigeria works. Once a chairman submits his authority for any client-centered purposes, even if you go to court, you will not win that election. You won't win the case. You cannot summon national chairman to a meeting and you will now tell him, oh, come and preside. The moment they knew what they were doing. They are from PDP. Papa is speaking. They are from there. They thought they could lure him into that place, so that at the end of the day, they will not tell him, no, what this young took, he was there. No. Ab initio, I am telling Nigerians and audience now, they cannot invite national chairman to a meeting. No. It is the national chairman that has defined our constitution. Any meeting not summoned by him is false. Now, let me give you an example. This time NSP, they tried it with our former chairman that is dead. You see, they went and summoned a meeting and they put one Omotosho from Kwara as national chairman. They went to INEC, they succeeded for 4 months where they removed A.A. Salam. We went to court and the court told them, in as much as A.A. Salam did not call that next meeting or the end of this meeting, in as much, I was the one that went to court with following Fashion saying as my lawyer then, that in as much as he was not the one that presided over that meeting, the court invalidated that meeting, and you guess what happened? They removed him. The Colonel Odo AG was our national secretary. While Abure was our deputy national secretary then, the court told them in clear terms that you cannot until when he was the one that called that meeting. So whatever they are doing, you cannot invite national chairman to a meeting. No. What should know that Peter Obi, you cannot. This is not People Democratic Party. This is Labour Party. And the same NSC that are promoting it were the one, that also joined with the founding fathers of the party to write the constitution. And once you have submitted the constitution to INEC, it is valid. So they cannot invite Abure to a meeting. It is Abure that will invite them to a meeting because NEC or whatever, if it is not presented, not called by me,
Mr. Arabambi,
national chairman,
Mr. Arabambi, in the interest of time,
him, whatever you do there is null and void.
All right. Time will tell. In the interest of time, we need to wrap the conversation up. If Salako, quickly, in 45 seconds, if you can, quickly just say your last.
Well, I think we just, we're all part of the Labour Party and we want the best for this Labour Party. So if, Governor Alex Oti is doing this and, like I have pointed out, in the Constitution, he has the constitutional right to call for this meeting. And, parting for a meeting and presiding over a meeting are two different things. I'm a part of the party. Dr. Arabambi, please, you had your time. Can you please?
No, please, we are not.
Dr. Arabambi, can you hold on? Mr. Arabambi, can you hold on?
No, please, that's
kindly hold on. Mr. Arabambi, kindly hold on.
We should not mislead Nigeria.
All right.
Please, we should not mislead Nigeria. If I should read that part of the
Constitution.
This is not PDP.
Mr. Arabambi, we allowed you speak. Please let Ife Salako speak.
All right. So as I was saying, I'm part of the party, and for some of us, even at the even at the lower level, at the ward levels, there are some of us that are stakeholders that will call for meetings, even for our chairman at our ward, at our local government, and they come around and we deliberate. It does not mean that when you get there, he will not be the one to preside over the meeting. And all these allegations against Peter Obi are all unfounded.
We have to go now.
Let's come together and make this party work.
We certainly would have to have this meeting again. Ife Salako, thank you for joining us. Dr. Abayomi Arabambi, thank you for joining us. We wish the Labour Party all the best. We'll come back to talk about the interpretation of Article 14 of the Labour Party Constitution, but that's a conversation for another day. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to break now. When we come back, conversations continue this morning on Breakfast Central. Nigeria's security crisis has become increasingly complex, with armed groups and non-state actors exploiting the state's limited coverage and influence. This includes Boko Haram's resurgence in the northeast, armed gangs in the north central and northwest, cessationist violence in the southeast, and gang-related issues in the southwest. Amidst these diverse security threats, widespread kidnap for ransom has emerged as a common thread.
Now, according to SBM intelligence, no fewer than 7,568 people were abducted in 1,130 incidents across the country between July 2023 and June 2024. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun has assured Nigerians that all citizens held captive will be safely rescued. This comes after the successful rescue of 20 medical students and 7 others. Joining us is security expert, program director at Clean Foundation, Salahuddin Hashim. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
All right. I mean, from the SBM report, it seems like we haven't really improved much in the last 1 year. Zamfara, of course, is the state with the most number of kidnap incidents, 132. Number of kidnap victims, 1,639. Number of civilian deaths, 146. And of course, Bayelsa State with the least a number of incidents. What can you tell us as to what may be, causing this surge in kidnapping incidents?
All right, thank you very much. I think the very first thing that really comes to mind is the fact that the issue of security is interactive. And what is interactive about it is that there are also underlying causes that actually fuels conversation around areas and regions where threats are becoming very palpable. And of course, you see Zamfara coming highest, and then of course Bayelsa coming low. And that is because the issue of, you can trace to this very quickly, is around poverty index. And okay, again, there are always a lot of conversation as to how citizens survive in areas where coercive poverty and economic recession has actually hit them hard. And because the traceable index and of course indicator to all of these tells you that in areas where you have less economic activities, and then of course some kind of absence of grievance mechanism, opportunities are there that you will find a surge and an increase. If you check the entire demography of states with human capital deficit, Zamfara would come top, and that therefore tells you the connection between security and economy. And again, because the National Security Strategy, who for the first time has actually come out to propose that there should be some level of non-kinetic response to the issue of insecurity, has also not been implemented in any quarter whatsoever. And that document, for the first time, went further to say, look, it is not enough to roll out tank at every incident to confront every form of threat, that sometimes the states also need to recognize this. And for the first time, the NSS document looked at the issue of economy, looked at the issue of job creation, looked at the issue of food security as some of the factors that can help to recede the emerging threats that is confronting a lot of society. But unfortunately, there is a lot of an elite capture of the society. The elite capture of the society has therefore created a little bit of a challenge in the implementation of the NSS document, which therefore has allowed the entire region to become very ungoverned. If you travel the belt of Zamfara in various locations, you will realize that there are areas where citizens are even unable to access. That is one. There are areas where citizens pay to be protected. They pay bandits to be protected. Two, there are areas where bandits offer and sell lands to locals to farm for them, and then of course harvest for them, and of course bring, because you cannot do otherwise, because again that is the only thing you can actually trade for your safety.
Still looking at our journey. Still looking at our journey so far in a country that has criminalized payment of ransom. We have the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. But if we look at the stats, between July 2023 and July 2024, kidnappers have demanded at least the sum of 10 billion naira as ransom, but received a little over 1 billion naira. A mere 9.5% of the money demanded, indicating that kidnappers have become less targeted in their victimology. And this is a report by the SBM. But what are your thoughts, looking at how we fared when it comes to ransom, collection of ransom, and the fact that it's criminalized in our country?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is the right way to go, but it is only the right way to go when the state has taken the responsibility to protect. But when the state has not taken the responsibility to protect and has not put in place infrastructure for safeguarding and has not also ensured that even when you are taking, that they put every mechanism for response to ensure that you are actually brought back. Therefore, I think families will be hesitant to want to respond to that. And the flip side to this is that if you go to local areas and you find the kind of suffering, look, the Terrorism Prevention Act itself has some level of deficiencies. And of course, that is perhaps a conversation for another time, because there are quite a number of provisions that are vague, nebulous, and some of them are a little bit not in tandem with the reality that we have. And that is the challenge with policy making. Policy making should actually review some level of what is happening, and of course have a peep into the future, so that at least you can know that you are not only making the policy for the now, but you are making a policy that is sustainable, and therefore people can relate with them. Because again, there is no intelligence that is effective enough for citizens to be taken and returned in the event that this happened. When the children were taken in Kaduna, we all knew that there were also back channel conversation. And then, of course, because we are privy to some of those information that actually went down in terms of ensuring that those children were rescued. I mean, everywhere in the world, people actually negotiate. So what the term were used for negotiating is sometimes differ. And of course, it differ from state to state. But entirely prohibiting it to a large extent is good, because again it reduces that particular economy, because again it became industrial, it went to a large scale. It will reduce it, which is very good, but again the state must also improve the infrastructure to ensure that safeguarding citizens is also something that is top-notch, and ensuring that it is not only something that should be taught, but again it is something that should actually be responsible. And that is on the one side. Two is that if you check the entire belt in the Northwest, you will realize that the issue that is confronting the region is traceable, and it is traceable to poverty and economy, and which was why I said it is very interactive. First quarter 2023.
Can we blame poverty alone?
Nigerians.
Is poverty a good enough excuse? And I mean, in the news, we see the IGP, Evacuation, talking tough about how everyone who's kidnapped will be rescued. But what we're seeing here is that there seems to be a surge in these numbers. It means, and not just a surge in the numbers, we even see these bandits and these kidnappers on social media posting videos of monies that they've received from victims. Means that they don't even have any fears that they will be arrested. They're not scared. They're not hiding. They're not in any way bothered about being caught. So it means that we obviously are in a worse case than we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Even with the big, words that are being said by Kayode Egbetukun, and of course with the current government.
Well, it's the audacity that actually gets me quite worried. But again, the issue of talking tough and rescuing Nigerians in captivity is not sloganeering. It is not to sloganeer about it. It is actually to put some mechanisms in place to be able to get that done. And my question would be, what are those things that we have on ground to be able to do that? I doubt if we have any. What were the strategy that we have? Again, yes, for purposes of national security, they may not want to divulge what their plans are to do that. But again, to be very honest, we have had plenty of slogans in this regard, and we know that nothing has actually been put to be able to ensure that these things are actually thoroughly implemented. Intelligence gathering is fundamental. If your intelligence community is faulty, it therefore means that your response mechanism will be a major challenge. Second is the issue of personnel. Your personnel are actually redistributed to VIPs. Okay, if you check the nominal role of security stakeholders or security agencies, half of them are actually attached to VIPs and the political elites and all of the private sectors, and therefore has left the vast majority of Nigerians vulnerable to this. And these guys know, and they know too well that look, no matter how much you talk tough, that they have some level of safeguarding, because they also tell you that look, they're even more equipped than even the state itself, so they can tell you that. And the third side is the issue of connivance. There are conversations, there are also concerns about how security stakeholders also connive with these guys in different ways. And again, we have various examples to be able to buttress this. And the question about vetting in security parlance, which allows the institution itself to vet its personnel and constantly follow up with them. In Kafancha, in Kaduna, we have seen a police officer who killed his colleague and sold his AK-47 to bandits for 300,000. I can go on and on with various examples, but again, because we're on air, it is very good to actually be a little bit circumspect. And this in itself tells you very clearly that the state security itself is not completely immune from some of the audacity that you see these guys exhibiting, because they have some of them on their payrolls, and they have some of them who give them intelligence and information, and they have, so it is not like these guys are a little bit completely isolated from, they have from back channel where they source information from. And I think this is where we're a little bit worried from. And on the flip side, is that some of these guys also, over election period, are also foot soldiers to some political guys.
And you know what, that perspective you've raised, I can completely agree with, because we've had a number of Nigerians talking about it and how, these people are people that were used as tools during the election to inflict violence. And then the thing that my colleague would say is, once you start this tap, you can't really stop it completely. But the DIA and the DSS the NIA and the DSS have new heads. So we're expectant to see some positive improvement. Hopefully when we have you join us again, we'll have some positive outlook in the area of security in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Alauddin Hashim. To have a wonderful day and see you around soon, hopefully with some good news.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's go on a break now. When we come back from the break, we have our papers here and our favorite analysts here as well. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's get into the newspapers this morning. Share with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria. Of course, we're joined this morning by Chris Kende-Wandu from CKN News. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Why are you laughing like that?
Because somebody behind the scene was doing a certain social media challenge called Go.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Good morning.
Absolutely. All right. Well, not very many stories on the Punch, but the Punch newspaper we're kicking off with. It says the government plans evacuation camps as flood hits 28 states. Flooding affects 133 local government areas, 526,000 people affected. Tinubu promises aid. NLC plans mass procession as Ajero honors police invitation today. Atiku and Bode George disagree over 2027 presidential election. It's in the other newspapers what Bode George, of course, said to the former vice president.
All right, let's head to the Daily Independent. Presidency, if you must contest, wait till 2031, Bode George tells Atiku. Says a southerner must occupy the position till 2031. You can't talk of 2027. 2023 has no benefit yet, Atiku's aide says. Kano implements single central revenue account for MDAs. Local government fiscal autonomy is in your legal luminary. Flays National Assembly over Supreme Court judgment. Fitch rating sounds alarm on MPOC's fiscal threat to Nigeria and others. I saw this and I was a bit alarmed when I looked into the details. NACON, presidency decries financial impropriety of religious institution. Governor Oti convenes Labour Party stakeholders meeting on the 4th of September. Nogasa tasks presidency on level playing field on crude oil sales. 16 burns in road crash in Ondo. To avert ASU strike, federal government raises committee to review unions' demands. Meets union September 6th after the deadlocked meeting. Committee upon committee upon committee. Tinubu appoints Akinde Uzokpala to board of BOI. NCC announces final deadline for NIN-SIM linkage compliance. Plateau Assembly reduces elected local government officials' tenure to 2 years. Let's take one more paper and then we can head into the stories.
All right, the Daily Times, just quickly. Bode George to Atiku, you can't be president in 2027, says PDP will field a southerner as presidential candidate in 2027. Talking about 2027 is insensitive. Atiku spokesperson replies, Bode George. EFCC warns lawyers against violating anti-money laundering rules. Ajero summon NLC directs members to occupy police headquarters nationwide today. Strike, federal government and ASU reach compromise to reconvene on the 6th of September. And I think you find a story here. Alleged terrorism, DIA gets court order to detain policeman and 19 others for 13 days. Just quickly get into it. TKN. I think the big one, is definitely the Atiku Bode George conversation. And of course, Joe Ajero is in the news as well. We may also have you speak quickly on the Alex Oti versus Julius Abure issue. But let's start with Atiku and Bode George.
Yes, before we start with Atiku and Bode George, I would like us, the producer, to pull up the front page of The Punch.
Okay.
I like the pictorial there. And that speaks volume. You see the pictorial there?
Yeah.
That is the new National Theatre. And we need to commend ourselves. It is not always, shouldn't always be about bad news and all these politicians trying to glorify themselves for their selfish reasons. The picture I'm seeing here, I've not been to the National Theatre for a very long time, but that attracts me. That means something is happening within the creative industry because we always be looking at the alternative to oil. And I've always believed that the alternative to oil is the mining sector as well as the creative industry in Nigeria. Nigeria, Nollywood, as it were, is the second or even the third largest, movie industry in the world. And I think that we can be able to build on that. So I commend those behind this beautiful edifice, what the National Theatre. There was a time it was a den of rodents and armed robbers and criminals that were doing, but the banks took over, and from what I'm seeing, this looks attractive to me. I can always go to the theatre.
Oh,
it looks very,
absolutely.
very. So I think that is very, very commendable for me. That's why I say we should just pull it off first.
Yeah.
Then going to the issue of Mr. Bode George, or Chief Bode George, with all due respect as far as I'm concerned, I think Chief Bode George should just keep quiet for now. We have mirage of problems facing us. I've never seen Chief Bode George talk about bad governance that we're having now. I've not seen him talk about issue of hunger that Nigerians are dying, practically dying. I've not talked of cost of living. All he's talking about is 27 and Atiku. And for goodness sake, it is not for Bode George to tell us who to vote for. He only has one vote. Nigerians, every Nigerian has the right to contest for the highest office in this land.
No, but if he's speaking as a PDP chieftain, doesn't he have the right to speak as a PDP?
He has the right. That's what I'm saying. He has the right. He's not PDP. He has his personal opinion. This is the same man that said that he will leave the country if Tinubu was elected. Have you forgotten? He said if immediately Tinubu is elected as the president of Nigeria, he's going to leave Nigeria on asylum. And Tinubu became president. What happened? He turned around.
To be fair to him, because I had a conversation, one-on-one conversation with him maybe a few months ago, and he is, still in the PDP, I believe. He said, that after President Tinubu won the election, they came to him and they spoke with him.
Which of them? Tinubu came to him.
Not him. I mean,
let's leave that. Let us focus on the. I have always, most often than not, go for the message, not the messenger.
Yeah.
What I'm saying now that we don't need all this unnecessary distraction. What we need now is to be able to make sure he is in the PDP. The PDP is supposed to be the #1 opposition party in Nigeria. And what is the work of the opposition? Is to put the ruling party on his toes. He's not doing that. They are not doing that. He's talking about 2027. Is there a way, with all sense of humility, how is he sure that he's going to live to 2027? I think we shouldn't play God. My own is that PDP should play its role as we saw how APC plays its role as an opposition party prior to 2015. And how they were swept out of office, as PDP was swept out of office. That is what we're talking about. But they just should be talking about governance. It should be talking about the lifestyles of our leaders. It should be talking about how Nigerians are practically dying now because they cannot feed, because they have a government that most people have come to believe that is not doing the right thing. That for me should be, he should be concerned about even his members that cannot feed, that are finding it difficult to live. That should be his focus, and not 2027 that he doesn't even know whether he himself or Atiku and the rest. That is not the focus for me now.
Right.
So at a point he said, let us give the Tinubu government 1 year. It's over 1 year. What is happening? So those are the issues for me. Rather than just coming and just that is just it. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, he said 1 year is not enough.
And he said 1 year was not enough, and it's over 1 year now. So what have he said again? So let us just leave this leader. I have always seen them, all of them, as just being selfish people that are more interested in their personal aggrandizement rather than the welfare of the people.
All right. Let's talk about your thoughts as quickly as possible on Governor Oti convening Labour Party stakeholders meeting. There's argument as to whether he has the right to. They're saying they're setting up a disciplinary committee to deal with those who belittle the party, and I don't know if you agree with that. This morning the argument was on what Article 14 of Labour Party Constitution means and who has power to convene a meeting.
For me, the pace of Labour Party has moved from P2B to Governor Oti. He's the only governor that they have. For goodness sake, no matter how you look at it, you can only be the success of Labour Party in last election on them producing one governor. And that, to me, is an achievement. For over the years, after Mimiko, there have never been any, Labour Party has never produced any governor at all. And moving forward, why I say that is the face is also, he has become a PR manager for the party. Because if you see what he's doing in Abia State, I'm not from Abia State, I'm from a neighboring state, Imo State. But I've been to Abia severally. My village, in fact, I'm closer to Umuahia, which is the capital of Abia State, than my own state capital in Owerri. My village in Obowu is just about less than 10 minutes drive to Umuahia. So I've seen the transformation going on. And I will say with all sense of humility that right from 1999 to date, all the governors put together that have ruled over Abia, none of them have touched what this man have done. So that is that on that part, in terms of governance. But when you now talk about party, Abure, who is the so-called national chairman, has he also raised the antics to prove to us that he's a leader without blemish. The party is totally in disarray. And to a large extent, I'm a very, 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 very good follower of Mr. P2B. I think that Mr. P2B would have raised the antics a bit and be able to bring some sanity. He is not Labour Party associate. He is a member. But if you talk of leadership now, I will say that P2B is the leader of the party. You always have the leader of the party that is not constitutionally stated. You have the chairman, you have National Executive Council,
the rest of them. The face, of the party.
That is it. He is the face of the party. Mm-hmm. And I would have think by now, P2B is just trying to be politically correct, trying to please everybody. In leadership, you cannot please everybody. You must take a stand. And I believe that the issue of Abure and all the allegations that have been leveled against him ought to have been fully investigated. I know they've been going to court and coming out of court and the rest of them, but the Labour Party is... So if someone like Uti, who is the only governor of...
It probably would be easier for, a person to take that leadership position that you speak of, if they look around them and they see that everybody around them has similar ideals and similar perspectives, similar... generally, similar ideals. And if they look around them and they don't see that, is it that easy to then just lead them along like that?
Leadership is not something, it's something you earn. Ask yourself, why do people follow P2B during the 2020 election? P2B won Lagos State, you've forgotten.
I very.
And they won so many states. So if it doesn't have, people don't have they don't have that inclination that he has that leadership quality, they will not follow him. What I'm saying in essence is that P2B has gotten to a point where he has become a statesman, sort of, quote and unquote. And he also has, Labour Party is practically about obedience. Remove obedience from Labour Party, there's nothing like Labour Party. I'm sure you agree with me. Remove that obedience movement. The Labour Party is practically about 80% obedient movement. Most of the people that were elected into the National Assembly were elected because of the person of P2B being in that party. Before P2B joining Labour Party, how many people do they have in the National Assembly? That's what I'm talking about, leader. So it's not something that he should be seen as the leader of the party and should be able to carry people, everybody along. And I repeat, there are so many allegations that by now I thought that they are buried, whatever late, would have been asked to step aside. Labour Party is owned by the NLC. We cannot go and check their constitution. It is owned by the NLC. And for goodness sake, if you try to sideline that, in as much as I'm one of those that believe that Labour should shy separate from party completely, politics. Because conflict of interest, and which is what the current government is using. Anytime Labour raises anything, they say, after all, they are members of the other political group. You find it very, very difficult. There's a narrow, very, very narrow gap to be able to. If you understand what I mean, I think that it should be. But don't forget also that the current government in United Kingdom is what?
Labour.
It's Labour Party. So you cannot totally eliminate that as it were. But it's because of the way we play politics here. But I continue to say that, one, the Labour Party should get its act together. By now, I'm supposed to see some kind of synergy. All this friction here and there.
I've been asking about, a confidence. What would be the vote of confidence on Julius Abure? If we took a poll across Labour Party members.
I'm sure that it would be 90% negative.
Okay. Ajaro Solomon, NLC directs members to occupy police headquarters nationwide today.
Why?
Well, they had someone that Jairo I think it was last week. They said, his lawyer said it was too last minute, so they gave a date. And today is the day that he's going to be.
Occupy.
So if, in case they detain him, there's going to be a national strike, a nationwide strike.
My sister, no single Nigerian cannot be invited by the security agency.
Atiku and Bode George.
Yes, before we start with Atiku and Bode George, I would like us, the producer, to pull up the front page of The Punch. Okay. I like the pictorial there. And that speaks volume. You see the pictorial there?
Yeah.
That is the new National Theatre. And we need to commend ourselves. It is not always, shouldn't always be about bad news and all these politicians trying to glorify themselves for their selfish reasons. The picture I'm seeing here, I've not been to the National Theatre for a very long time, but that attracts me. That means something is happening within the creative industry, because we will always be looking at the alternative to oil. And I've always believed that the alternative to oil is the mining sector as well as the creative industry in Nigeria. Nollywood, as it were, is the second or even the third largest movie industry in the world. And I think that we can be able to build on that. So I commend those behind this beautiful edifice, what the National Theatre. There was a time it was a den of rodents. And armed robbers and criminals that were doing, but the banks took over, and from what I'm seeing, this looks attractive to me. I can always go to the theater. It looks very, very. So I think that is very, very commendable for me. That's why I say we should just pull it off first. Then going to the issue of Mr. Bode George, or Chief Bode George, with all due respect as far as I'm concerned, I think Chief Bode George should just keep quiet for now. We have mirage of problems facing us. I've never seen Chief Bode George talk about bad governance that we're having now. I've not seen him talk about issue of hunger that Nigerians are dying, practically dying. I've not talked of cost of living. All he's talking about is 27 and Atiku. And for goodness sake, it is not for Bode George to tell us who to vote for. He only has one vote. Nigerians, every Nigerian has the right to contest for the highest office in this land.
No, but if he's speaking as a PDP chieftain, doesn't he have the right to speak as a PDP?
He has the right. That's what I'm saying. He has the right. He's not PDP. He has his personal opinion. This is the same man that said that he will leave the country if Tinubu was elected. Have you forgotten? He said if immediately Tinubu is elected as the president of Nigeria, he's going to leave Nigeria on asylum. And Tinubu became president. What happened? He turned around.
To be fair to him, because I had a conversation, one-on-one conversation with him maybe a few months ago, and he is, still in the PDP, I believe. He said, that after President Tinubu won the election, they came to him and they spoke with him.
Which of them? Tinubu came to him.
Not him. I mean,
let's leave that. Let us focus on the. I have always, most often than not, go for the message, not the messenger.
Yeah.
What I'm saying now that we don't need all this unnecessary distraction. What we need now is to be able to make sure he is in the PDP. The PDP is supposed to be the #1 opposition party in Nigeria. And what is the work of the opposition? Is to put the ruling party on his toes. He's not doing that. They are not doing that. He's talking about 2027. Is there a way, with all sense of humility, how is he sure that he's going to live to 2027? I think we shouldn't play God. My own is that PDP should play its role as we saw how APC plays its role as an opposition party prior to 2015. And how they were swept out of office, as PDP was swept out of office. That is what we're talking about. But they just should be talking about governance. It should be talking about the lifestyles of our leaders. It should be talking about how Nigerians are practically dying now because they cannot feed, because they have a government that most people have come to believe that is not doing the right thing. That for me should be, he should be concerned about even his members that cannot feed, that are finding it difficult to live. That should be his focus, and not 2027 that he doesn't even know whether he himself or Atiku and the rest. That is not the focus for me now.
Right.
So at a point he said, let us give the Tinubu government 1 year. It's over 1 year. What is happening? So those are the issues for me. Rather than just coming and just that is just it. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, he said 1 year is not enough.
And he said 1 year was not enough, and it's over 1 year now. So what have he said again? So let us just leave this leader. I have always seen them, all of them, as just being selfish people that are more interested in their personal aggrandizement rather than the welfare of the people.
All right. Let's talk about your thoughts as quickly as possible on Governor Oti convening Labour Party stakeholders meeting. There's argument as to whether he has the right to. They're saying they're setting up a disciplinary committee to deal with those who belittle the party, and I don't know if you agree with that. This morning the argument was on what Article 14 of Labour Party Constitution means and who has power to convene a meeting.
For me, the pace of Labour Party has moved from P2B to Governor Oti. He's the only governor that they have. For goodness sake, no matter how you look at it, you can only be the success of Labour Party in last election on them producing one governor. And that, to me, is an achievement. For over the years, after Mimiko, there have never been any, Labour Party has never produced any governor at all. And moving forward, why I say that is the face is also, he has become a PR manager for the party. Because if you see what he's doing in Abia State, I'm not from Abia State, I'm from a neighboring state, Imo State. But I've been to Abia severally. My village, in fact, I'm closer to Umuahia, which is the capital of Abia State, than my own state capital in Owerri. My village in Obowu is just about less than 10 minutes drive to Umuahia. So I've seen the transformation going on. And I will say with all sense of humility that right from 1999 to date, all the governors put together that have ruled over Abia, none of them have touched what this man have done. So that is that on that part, in terms of governance. But when you now talk about party, Abure, who is the so-called national chairman, has he also raised the antics to prove to us that he's a leader without blemish. The party is totally in disarray. And to a large extent, I'm a very, 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 very good follower of Mr. P2B. I think that Mr. P2B would have raised the antics a bit and be able to bring some sanity. He is not Labour Party associate. He is a member. But if you talk of leadership now, I will say that P2B is the leader of the party. You always have the leader of the party that is not constitutionally stated. You have the chairman, you have National Executive Council,
the rest of them. The face, of the party.
That is it. He is the face of the party. Mm-hmm. And I would have think by now, P2B is just trying to be politically correct, trying to please everybody. In leadership, you cannot please everybody. You must take a stand. And I believe that the issue of Abure and all the allegations that have been leveled against him ought to have been fully investigated. I know they've been going to court and coming out of court and the rest of them, but the Labour Party is... So if someone like Uti, who is the only governor of...
It probably would be easier for, a person to take that leadership position that you speak of, if they look around them and they see that everybody around them has similar ideals and similar perspectives, similar... generally, similar ideals. And if they look around them and they don't see that, is it that easy to then just lead them along like that?
Leadership is not something, it's something you earn.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, why do people follow P2B during the 2020 election? P2B won Lagos State, you forgot it.
I very.
And they won so many states. So if it doesn't have, people don't have they don't have that inclination that he has that leadership quality, they will not follow him. What I'm saying in essence is that P2B has gotten to a point where he has become a statesman, sort of, quote and unquote. And he also has, Labour Party is practically about obedience. Remove obedience from Labour Party, there's nothing like Labour Party. I'm sure you agree with me. Remove that obedience movement. The Labour Party is practically about 80% obedient movement. Most of the people that were elected into the National Assembly were elected because of the person of P2B being in that party. Before P2B joining Labour Party, how many people do they have in the National Assembly? That's what I'm talking about, leader. So it's not something that he should be seen as the leader of the party and should be able to carry people, everybody along. And I repeat, there are so many allegations that by now I thought that they are buried, whatever late, would have been asked to step aside. Labour Party is owned by the NLC. We cannot go and check their constitution. It is owned by the NLC. And for goodness sake, if you try to sideline that, in as much as I'm one of those that believe that Labour should shy separate from party completely, politics. Because conflict of interest, and which is what the current government is using. Anytime Labour raises anything, they say, after all, they are members of the other political group. You find it very, very difficult. There's a narrow, very, very narrow gap to be able to. If you understand what I mean, I think that it should be. But don't forget also that the current government in United Kingdom is what?
Labour.
It's Labour Party. So you cannot totally eliminate that as it were. But it's because of the way we play politics here. But I continue to say that, one, the Labour Party should get its act together. By now, I'm supposed to see some kind of synergy. All this friction here and there.
I've been asking about, a confidence. What would be the vote of confidence on Julius Abure? If we took a poll across Labour Party members.
I'm sure that it would be 90% negative.
Okay. Ajaro Solomon, NLC directs members to occupy police headquarters nationwide today.
Why?
Well, they had someone that Jairo I think it was last week. They said, his lawyer said it was too last minute, so they gave a date. And today is the day that he's going to be. Occupy. So if, in case they detain him, there's going to be a national strike, a nationwide strike.
My sister, no single Nigerian cannot be invited by the security agencies. Even the president can be invited. The only thing that he cannot do, based on the National Constitution, is to take him to court. That's the president and the governor. That list. So anybody, irrespective of whatever position you hold, either president, small president, or big president in quotes,
or the president general,
or the president general, as it were. But that is where it stops. But the only problem is that the way and manner that the police extended this invitation make it look so suspicious, and that is what is building up. So the police should be able to do its job. If you have any evidence that Ajero was involved in any, what do you call it
shady terrorism financing,
push it forward. Push it forward to us. Because the police have been speaking in different times, speaking from both sides of their mouth. When the place was invaded, their secretariat was invaded, they kept quiet. We continued blaming DSS. Until DSS came out and said, we are not involved. It was then that police rose up from his slumbers after 72 hours or so to say, yes, we actually did. What did you go there to do? Oh, there's one foreigner that was we are investigating or whatever. And they said,
that was after initially denying.
That's why I said after 72 hours, after DSS have come out to deny, they now came. I will say, okay, you went there. Who is the person? You must have a name. Does it have picture? Bring out the picture now. Let us declare him wanted so that those of us that even citizens can help you to look for him. Because I've been now. Right. Because do you know what? Most people don't understand. The Constitution guarantees you as an individual to arrest anybody in Nigeria. You have by the provisions of Nigeria. Yes, that's a citizen right. You have a right. I have a right to arrest you. If you have done anything that I think there's a unique to security, there's a security challenge for me. But what the caveat is, the Constitution, if I arrest you, I must make sure that I take you to the police station. Yeah. It is not within my right to start. Yeah. So that is it. So we have the right to also arrest that man, that so-called man, that the police have not told us who is about. Now, NLC came out and say, you must apologize for invading our house without any reason. The next you turn around and give an invitation. And you want to invite somebody, you are giving just less than 24 hours. They've closed from office. You went to drop letter there and say you should see them. Then, so those are the so there must be that there must be trust, and that has always been what is it? No, that has always been a challenge.
That trust is not there.
That trust is not there. Not only with NLC,
yes,
but even the citizens.
I was going to say that once
yes,
anyone is invited by the police, there's just this inherent fear.
Yeah.
And then they start tweeting, "Oh, I'm going to meet with the police in case anything happens to me. This is my last location."
Let me even shock you. In other crimes, security agencies do their investigation. It's after investigation you arrest.
Then they arrest, which is how it should be.
But our own is the other way around. So our security agents will arrest you and start looking for evidence.
You know, it's even crazy that what you just mentioned. They do their investigation.
Yes.
They have all the facts.
Yes.
They arrest you. Even when they arrest you, you are still granted bail.
Yes.
So you can still go home even after that arrest.
24 hours. Liars, they can hold you 24, 48 hours.
Not knowing, I mean, bearing in mind that when they go home, knowing that the spotlight has been shown on that person, they can then go and start covering the tracks.
That is what we call media trial.
Yes.
Which is very dangerous.
Which is also something that they did. Abuja FCT, the FCT police showed a number of people who had been accused of crime.
Those are accused.
Is that legal?
It's not legal.
Don't they deserve a day in court?
It's not legal. There's a lot of illegality. You cannot continue parading people just because you can't even not be able to prove. Yes, now you can't. So if tomorrow they are not found guilty, what happens?
You know why the problem is? I don't think we've seen individuals who have been falsely accused, falsely paraded, by law enforcement agencies who have sued.
It's because they are scared, and that is also because of our judicial system. Who has the money to start going all the?
I agree with you.
We have more than 70,000 people awaiting trial.
That is it. So those are the issues as far as I'm concerned.
I want us to take the vanguard, if possible, as quickly as possible. That big story. I want you to talk about National Assembly wading into the age controversy. Why is it important? I mean, they said it's a policy that's existed before, but they just want to implement it to ensure that you have to be up to 18 to write WAEC and NECO. What is the logic behind this? As a parent,
you should ask the minister what's the logic.
Emotional, they need to make sure they're emotionally mature to be able to get into university.
Maturity. If it's by maturity, then electing the president, we should have the oldest man being the president of Nigeria. Maturity has nothing to do with your age. There have been instances where we have children that are just about how many years. And I've always, with all sense of responsibility, my wife hates me talking about it, but I have to use that classical example. I have a daughter that got admission. She finished her secondary school before she was 16. She got admission into the university at 16. By the time she was 19, going 20, she came out with a first class in computer science. This is Nigeria. Then, apart from that, after her youth service, she went abroad to do her master's. By the age of 22, she has already gotten a master, and she had a first class, also in computer science, a master's. So what are we talking about? Are you telling me that such a child, so I could have kept her in the house after she was waiting for me and be eating apple and doing this thing. That she's so this is very archaic. Irrespective, okay, let us even say that it is in the books and it has been there.
Take it out.
Simple. I think that the minister should be more concerned with the Amajeris that are in the north. You saw the surge during the end. The number of out-of-school children in the north should be more concerned for a minister that is from the north.
Yeah, there's 18, that'll be 20 million out of school.
Over 20 million. That should be his focus. He has not spoken any single thing about that.
That should be his focus.
That should be his focus. That's what he should be focusing on. Because that is a time bomb. We're sitting on a time bomb.
Yeah. At the end of a 4-year period, the minister should be able to say.
And this was supposed to be somebody that was a former vice chancellor of a private university that doesn't even know what is.
And to look at there are several things to look at. Almajiri is one of them. ASU and incessant strikes is another. Our budgetary allocation.
Even the governors in the north, leaders in the north are already crying about the problem of that system, where you see children of 6 years, 7 years, 10 years roaming the street in their millions without anything, without education. And they continue. I should think that what you have done is to try to dust that Amajiri school system that was started by Goodluck Jonathan and see how you can improve on it so that we can get. Do you know the number of children, out of school children in Nigeria presently? It runs into millions. Instead of doing that, this man is just, that's why I was saying on another channel that probably that since the man doesn't have much, maybe what we should do is now to create a Minister of Men Affairs, because we are good at creating, we have Minister of Women Affairs. Maybe we should create a Minister of Men Affairs where you are looking of maturity, where the current minister can supervise over, that is pretend over. Because this is too retrogressive for me. This is not the problem. This is not our problem.
For a country that is not doing up, we are still doing single digits.
Go and see what India and other countries in the world. They are able, we used to have what used to be, what was it called? That intelligence children. I thought that was something we used to have before. For special, if you remember that distance, we used to have some kind of school for the special.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
You remember vividly, where we take all our best brain children. Gifted. The school for the gifted. Where is that school now? You go to across the globe, you have some countries that even 12-year-old children are in the university. High tech. They sit down.
Creating robots.
In
the world where artificial
intelligence and the rest of them.
Over.
Have you ever seen pictures when they say a man from one state in Nigeria made an airplane?
So even in technology, you will see that even our young people are trying.
It's unfortunate. I mean,
it's just unfortunate.
As we wrap it up, the way that I say it is, we cannot say that someone is too young to go to school when they're not too young to marry in this country. That's one.
I don't even want to go.
Two, there's also the fact that the people they are competing against are people that are exposed to using artificial intelligence at their beck and call, people who are exposed to modern best practices in education. So I heard the story of a man who was going to do his master's at 32, and the people in his class were 22. At 32, your brain is not the same as it was when you were 22. So your child has all that capacity, and you tell them sit down at home and do what?
Let me shock you. I went back to the university at 51 to read law. Most of my classmates were 17, 18 years today. You'll be shocked. With my age of 50-something, the ones that got first class, we are 19-year-old students. Where I don't say I don't see at all. I was still struggling. Yeah. Are you going to deprive these young people of this opportunity? Yeah. What are you trying to do? Even the ones that you are graduated at 25, where the job for them?
The job is only 125-year-olds with 10-year experience.
Chris Kende-Wando, thank you very much for stopping by.
Thank you for joining us.
We always enjoy speaking with you.
Thank you, and let me also commend this. My daughter, she said I should say that, my younger daughter, Daddy, are you going to that station that have one of the best studios in Nigeria?
Oh, that's
She's just 13. So I need to commend you guys.
Thank you.
I'm always on various TV stations, but you guys are.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We continued conversations this morning. We have a lot more coming your way on Breakfast Central this morning. But of course, you know that will come right after this short break. Stay with us. Over 31.8 million Nigerians face acute food scarcity due to insecurity and petrol subsidy removal. Now, this is according to the 2024 CADA Harmonized Report presented to the federal government on Tuesday. The Central Bank of Nigeria has revealed in its July 2024 Household Expectation Survey that Nigerians are bracing for a tough economic period ahead, with many planning to rely on borrowing and depleting their savings to manage their financial obligations. The CBN survey highlights growing consumer pessimism about the nation's economic trajectory, with many Nigerians facing financial pressures and anticipating a continued decline in economic conditions. Stakeholders, including government officials and development partners, are calling for a multi-sectoral approach to address food security challenges simultaneously. Now, joining us is development specialist Dr. Emeka Okengu to share his thoughts on this. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for the invite.
All right. I'm going to start with, there's been a sharp increase in the number of hungry Nigerians from 18.6 million in 2023 to 31.8 million. Of course, CADA Harmonized Report highlights surge in food commodity prices, security challenges as the major factors. And many people, of course, are dealing with these realities every day. But do you, first of all, agree with the statistics that have been shared here? Comparing it with when the government says inflation is at 30% or 33%, full inflation is at 40%. There's many other analysts that will say that our inflation rates are much higher than what the government or the NBS shares.
We need to be focusing on one particular inflation. If you're talking about food inflation, yes, the figures might be quite higher. But what's also important to note is that this is not local. It's international. You have America with all its systems, about 41 million Americans are also food insecure. And with the latest releases of even the UK, from 3% they had in 2022, the latest report now shows that 1 out of every family with kids in the UK are also dependent on the food support programs. So what am I trying to say? When you were talking about the intro of the primary causes of food inflation, I didn't hear you mention, climate change, which is actually at the center. Everybody seems to be, fixating it at the level of removal of fuel subsidy. Yes, it could be a trigger, but I don't think it's the main reason. Why you have food inflation as both global and local for various reasons. For us in Nigeria, one will be, like I told you, food, climate change, insecurity, banditry. But climate change is at the heart of it because it's actually the main issue. Triggering a lot of other factors like saline intrusion, flooding that we have now, that's going to be creating a lot more problems for us. And of course, lack of synergies, like I think you also mentioned in your intro, building some multi-sectoral, multi-dimensional, approach that is above all, driven by, technology. So instead of be getting fixated on farming like I want to do in Nigeria, I think the focus should be on food production, and this is where technology will come and play a very major role.
All right, let's look at what the survey is saying. Consumer confidence has declined, with the overall confidence index for the next 3 months standing at a negative 9.21 points. And it's said that many Nigerians are expected to draw down on their savings or incur debt to meet their needs. So I think the question will be, what is the way out? Lagos State is looking at cutting the cost of food items by 25%. Will that be enough to augment the difficulty that this might pose for citizens?
Thank you very much. I mean, you've just put it well. What is the way out? I mean, the facts are there, the statistics are there. And even what you're looking at now, you're looking at the people that can be mapped, which are the people mostly in the formal, rural and then, urban centers. If you look at those who are in the rural sector, a lot of the 80% or more of Nigerians that you have not been able to even capture, because you're talking about people who have savings. So your question or the position will be against people who have bank accounts. Also take into consideration that less than 25% of Nigerians, are banked. So what's the way out? The way out, very simple, very straight. You mentioned it. Multi-dimensional approach, technology-based food production, programs and practices. And let me say this, it's also important, I know, because I'm involved in some league too. The Ministry of Agriculture is also introducing what they call the Homestead Accelerated National Homestead Program, where food is no longer about the farmer. You, as beautiful, as you are, well-dressed as you are, can also contribute, to our food stock. Same with the gentleman with his fine suit. So food has to be treated like security. And just like they're also doing it everywhere. If you go to the UK, they have what they call their urban agriculture. They're designing their houses, to be able to allow them to do rooftop agriculture. So instead of us showing what it is you're showing now, people carrying baskets of food, and then the next you're going to be showing up probably 1 or 2 people carrying hoes and machetes. First and foremost, I don't even think there's any company, that is producing hoes anymore, anywhere globally. So we need to approach, to answer you directly, is for us to begin to think out of the box, and then think about new solutions and strategies to make certain that all of us are contributing to our food bulge.
Do you have any trust or faith in the current Nigerian government to achieve some of these things that you've mentioned? Of course, President Tinubu had given his directives on food security months ago. Nothing changed. It seems to even have gotten worse. So do you have any faith in the current administration's efforts so far, from what you've seen, in changing the reality of the average Nigerian?
Three of us are government, yes, and we are government. If the Tinubu administration at the level of the federal government also recognizes that are the subnationals, yes, I have that faith. So like I said to you, what it is we need to do is to begin to build, new synergies. Okay, remembering again that even at the level of the federal government, they don't have a lot of lands. Where the lands are, where the people are the subnationals, at the CDA levels, the community development, associations, to the local governments, to the wards, to the state government, before you even start talking about the federal government. So yes, based on that, I am very confident that it will work. But if we're going to be leaving it alone for the Tinubu administration, things are only going to be getting worse. That's the point I'm trying to make. But if you and I, and the lady in the studio are all part of government, we are Nigerians, our campaign, and everybody needs to just bring, what they can, onto the table, and then we'll put our hands on this still to push it forward. Every hand has to be on deck now. Yes, and it will work. I believe it will.
All right. I mean, it looks very gloomy. And every time that I look at the analysis from economic experts, both here in Nigeria and outside the country, not very many of them have any faith in where we're going. But we'll see. Of course, we'll continue to monitor things and see how they turn. Thank you very much for joining us and for having this conversation with us. We would love to speak with you again and see how things turn out in the next couple of months.
Okay, let's be optimistic. We'll have the solution to this. The gloom part of it are the doomsdays, practitioners, and I think we should do away with them. We can produce food. We'll have 81 million hectares of land, bro. You, as good looking as you are, can do food production. You don't need to do farming to produce food. So when you talk about analysts that are giving you hopelessness, and I'd like to see those reports, and I'll be very glad to take them on. Our
Absolutely.
future is very bright, and we need to be optimistic about our country. And thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you very much. I will take your advice very seriously. Thanks very much for stopping by. We'll see you again. All right. Now, before I get into food production, let's quickly share with you what Nigerians are saying this morning. Stay with us.
The chairman of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri, has been criticized as a result of her action, sort of calling out another lady who has said some things that many would refer to as bigotry. Now, the quick backstory. A young lady went on a TikTok space and she said a number of things that I cannot see on television about the Yoruba people and the Edo people, basically inciting people against them. This young lady says she's in Canada and there's nothing that her government can do the government can do to her. As a result, people started criticizing her. Abike Dabiri put out the tweet and then put out a picture of the lady saying, this is a picture of the lady behind the voice, Amaka Patience Sonberger. She has deleted her TikTok account, and a group of Nigerians in Canada are reporting her officially to the relevant authorities in Canada. Thanks for alerting everyone. Now, after that, whilst there were criticisms leveled against her, one of the criticisms was that this is not the first time that we're seeing conversations about bigotry, and that it started long before now, but nothing had been done. First of all, a young man who I'm going to be talking about and sharing his tweets from last year, he tweeted something against the Igbos, and his name is, can we please put up his tweet? The young man who tweeted against Igbos, saying that Igbos should be killed, and he talked about hatred for Igbos. And he was picked up by the Osun State CID. The Osun State CID picked him up, put him behind bars. He said, let's kill all the Igbos, let's flush them out of Yoruba lands. I hate these people with passion. They are violent people, they are worse, they hate us. Let's hate them without holding back. This obviously is a tweet that is very insightful. He was arrested and thrown behind bars, and investigation occurred. The latest report is that he might have been snuck behind bars. He might have been taken behind the corner and released from the prison. We do not have information about that. We're hoping that Prince Olumuyiwa Adejobi can come to help clarify with that situation. But what a number of Nigerians have said is the foundation of this chaotic situation is because there is a bigotry problem that we're not addressing. We're not addressing what the root cause is. During the elections in 2023, what we did see was that Igbo people complained about feeling marginalized. There were certain people, for example, the certain Oba who spoke against Igbo people, MC Oluomo who spoke against the Achukudi, and several other people who put out tweets asking Igbo people to stay at home. Some have said that this is in response to the actions that were not treated as they should have been treated. And more recently is Lagospedia, who put out a tweet asking for people to come out en masse to protest. Lagospedia said Lagosians and every Southwest stakeholder should prepare for the massive protest of Igbo must go on the 20th to 30th of August. They have 1 month from now on to leave and relocate their businesses. Anyway, the Lagos State government criticized this, but nothing was done about it. He hasn't been arrested yet, even though his identity was uncovered by social media investigators. But let's share what Nigerians are actually saying in reaction to the tweet by Abike Dabiri. Now, our first tweet is from CBN, is from Governor Akishola Akin. He says, "Dear Amaka Patience Sandberger, as the deputy head of evacuation, I'll be waiting to receive you at the airport. Go and ask. I was part of the team that welcomed the evacuees from UK, US, China, Kenya, France, Spain." And it goes on. "During the war and COVID-19, experience this, so I go treat you well. Even if you be like PDOM, nobody can catch breeze, we go catch you." And I thought that it was absolutely unnecessary, just to mention that it was very unnecessary for him to make reference to PDOM, because this in no way has any semblance to what is being done to PDOM. What is being done to PDOM is injustice. We highly criticize it. If the government of the day has any strong evidence against PDOM, he should be taken to court. His lawyers have sued the federal government because they're saying, or they are suing because they're saying that you can't keep a man in detention for over 20 days. But let's take the next tweet regarding this. The next tweet is from, it says, "Madam Abike, it is heartwarming to know you can be swift about fighting bigotry like this. I will only enjoin you to maintain the same energy on these Yoruba bigots, including Bayo Onanuga. Otherwise, your hypocrisy will sink all of you that ignore these genocidal tweets." The next one is from Precious Chooks. He says, "I condemn Amaka's utterances to poison our Yoruba and Ijaw brothers and sisters. Violence should never be the way to resolve grievances or hurt. I also call on Mrs. Abike to be vocal in condemning violence and extremism of all sorts, regardless of what tribe she belongs to." I think the conclusion of this would be that we have a problem with bigotry, a problem that hasn't been dealt with. It's been treated with kids' gloves. And whilst we condemn wholeheartedly the statement by Amaka Sandberger, and I'm not here to hold brief for Abike Dabiri, but I can maybe understand that she's speaking up about this because it is her jurisdiction, the diaspora. What about the ones that happened here in Nigeria? What is the police saying about this? Prince Muyiwa Adejobi, we're expecting feedback regarding the arrest of Lagospedia, the investigation and the prosecution of Lagospedia, and everybody who has in one way, shape or form spoken to incite bigotry in our country. But that's what Nigerians are saying. We're done for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on the show same time tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Remember to be a part of the conversations on social media at News Central TV. We have the news coming up at 9, and we have Jasiri coming up at 10 a.m. You don't want to miss that. Until we see you again, I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawan. See you tomorrow.